What does a guy who made 600,000 cold calls and sold $650 million in real estate know that the rest of us don't? Today's guest holds 15 to 20 open houses every single weekend, gets his offers accepted 90% of the time, and sells the average home in 11 days while the rest of the country sits at 66 days. So if you've ever parked yourself on a couch at your own open house just hoping somebody wanders in, stick around because Zach Geisendorfer is about to ruin that version of you forever. Stay tuned.
This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod. And now, on to our show. Today's episode is brought to you by Corded.io. Are you looking for agents to join your brokerage or team? Now, as a real estate recruiter, I can tell you the answer is always yes. But most agents aren't looking to move right now. So how do you know who to contact? Well, what if I were to tell you there's a recruiting and retention tool powered by artificial intelligence that shows you exactly which agents in your local market are looking to leave their brokerage right now and which agents at your own firm are also looking to leave you? Now, I've been recruiting realtors for 15 years and I've hired over 2,000 agents. I can tell you with no exaggeration, this is the tool I've been waiting for. Corded's AI looks for trends across dozens of variables for each agent in your market and shows you which agents they believe are likely to move. Not only does it do that, but Corded's AI went and visited my recruiting website and read everything I offer. So now when I'm recruiting, Corded's AI tells me exactly what to say based on that agent's needs and what my brokerage can offer. It even writes emails for me. I've never seen anything like it, and I use it every single day. Now, if you are looking to grow your brokerage, Corded.io is the best tool out there. Visit Corded.io to schedule a demo. Again, that's Corded.io. And now, onto the show.
Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I'm your guide. I'm your host through the show. And today is a very rare occurrence for us, but I am so excited. We have a returning guest, and we almost never do this because usually people tell their entire story in one episode and it's enough, right? We don't need to go back. I was so excited that he reached out to us again. We were going to reach out to him anyway, because this is an episode, the first time he was on, that I have sent to more agents who ask me how to be successful with, in particular, open houses. This guy's got the most insane open house strategy you've ever heard, and it just nets him so many deals, and he's all about ROI. He tracks everything. And he reached out. So he's like, we got to do this again. So I am so excited. Once again, we have Zach Geisendorfer. I want to tell you about him if you're new. And by the way, we'll have a link to his first episode because he goes through his open house strategy in like excruciating detail. And if you do this, I promise you will have a level of success like he is having. So check that out. We'll have a link. But let me tell you more about him if you're new. So Zach Geisendorfer is the sales leader for the FAM Real Estate Group. Over the last 5.5 years, his team has closed more than 650 million in volume. He built on a foundation of more than 600,000 cold calls and a relentless commitment to doing the work that actually moves the needle. They will also do 40 in-house flips this year with their agent partners. He's created what he believes is the number one vehicle for an agent to hit their financial goals while living the highest quality of life. Beyond running his own team, Zach trains top team leaders across the country on how to attract the right agents into their environment so they can build something high profit that adds to their life instead of taking from it. His philosophy is simple: the work works. Success isn't about shortcuts or hype. It's about showing up every day, holding the standard, and building an environment where people rise. Born and raised in SoCal, Southern California, Zach lives in Laguna Niguel, which, by the way, is like paradise, basically, in Orange County with Rachel, the love of his life. When he's not building the business or coaching team leaders, you'll usually find him near the water. You guys need to follow him on Instagram because he does unbelievable things there. It's Zach Zen Real Estate, ZACH, Zen Real Estate. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Zach, welcome back.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited. Episode 1 was a blast, so I knew episode 2 would be a fun one.
Yeah, I am so excited to have you back. We sometimes get guests that reach out and I'm like, I don't know, we think we hit everything last time. And you are somebody that was an instant yes. And so excited. So let's do a quick recap for everyone who missed you last time. So you taught us what you call the mega open house method. This is calling 200 to 300 neighbors before the weekend, before the open house, what you call the pick your neighbor campaign, which I won't go into, but it's in the last episode. Basically knowing the house better than anybody. So let's give our audience the 60-second version. So if someone is hosting an open house, and I know it's hard to do in 60 seconds, but if someone's hosting an open house this weekend, what are 2 or 3 things that turn it from a hanging out on the couch, hoping people come in, into real money?
Yeah, it's really simple, honestly. So you're right. It can be a long checklist, as in it's work to do. But if you think about it, if you can just have 2 or 3 years of mass momentum, like of crushing it, you'd never have to do that work again. And so if you can just lock in on something like open houses, like a mega open house, it doesn't take too long to build just a crazy pipeline out of it. Like your pipeline growth is absurd. So if you have an open house this weekend, okay, a few things that you need to do. 1, study the house. Okay, study it. You should know it more than the neighbors do. You shouldn't be asking the neighbors, okay, for information on the house. Like you should already know that information. 2, find the 50. I'll make it even smaller for you, and just find the 50 closest neighbors. Call your title rep. Go to something like Mojo, RedX. There's a million companies that you can do it from these days, and just dial the 50 closest neighbors on a double tap, which means you call them, they don't answer. You call them one more time. Okay, and you call them again. And then the very last one is post it. So perception is reality. And so a lot of us complain that, Instagram's hard because I don't have anything to post and I don't know what I'm going to talk about. You guys, they literally make TV shows about what we do for a living. And they're like some of the highest viewed shows that exist. And so you have this opportunity to post before the open house, during the open house, and after the open house on your Instagram. And the verbiage that you need to use is I'm selling a house this weekend, not, oh, I'm hosting an open house. Hey, I'm here in Oceanside at 2334 Baker Street, and I'm selling this house this weekend. And all of your audience on Instagram, all of your friends, all your family, all they see is you selling a house every single weekend.
I love that. Wow. Amazing advice. No more open houses. I'm selling the house this weekend. Come on by. You got to see this thing before it sells. Yep. I love it.
I'm selling a house. It's way more exciting than I'm hosting an open house.
And how many open houses are you guys averaging a weekend now?
So I'd say an average is probably between 15 and 20. And then we'll have some big weekends, where it pushes closer to like 30 plus, open houses. But an average is about 15, and we're doing a lot of signs. So an average weekend for us is about a couple hundred open house signs that are out, in our market.
Wow. And you also sometimes do open houses for listings that aren't yours, correct?
100%. So any brokerage that you're part of, like EXP, for example, we're part of EXP. We have a Slack channel, that literally goes to all the local EXP agents and stuff. We're just like, hey, find me, do you have any open houses this weekend? Who wants to host, needs someone, et cetera. And we'll find on average about 15 to 20 outside open houses per weekend that we can go and host. So there's no stopping. There's no, oh, I can't find an open house. Like there is always an open house in your market to hold. You just need to find it.
So here's the story I don't think you've told yet on our show. So before all the open house success, you helped grow your team from about 5 agents to 40, which is incredible. And at one point you added something like 25 agents in 2 weeks. So take me back to that stretch. Did it feel like you had cracked this code?
Yeah, so I was originally an ISA when I first joined FAM. My business partner now, Francis, hired me as an ISA, and that's where all the cold calling, and everything came from. But so after a year of partnering together, I stepped in as sales manager, and part of that is agent attraction, and bringing in the right people into the environment to thrive. And so we left ERA where we were at prior, ERA for EXP, and we went over to EXP. And so we were like, cool, we're just going to hammer this thing. And we did. We gained like 30 agents in like 30 or 40 days. Like it was just, I mean, boom, we ran ads, job ads. We were calling, we were texting, doing emailing. We posted it. Like we really just hit it hard on all angles, never really doing it before. And what happened is our environment was not designed to handle that many people, especially that quickly. So everything got ultra stress tested,
Right.
and a lot of it broke. Actually, so that was actually the following 90 days was the lowest production that we've had, probably ever as a team, lower than us being 5 or 6 agents. Like it was just a total chaos, that went on where, like I said, the ecosystem was not designed, to handle something like that yet. So our winning solution actually was to re-shrink down, to about 10 agents, rebuild the systems, I mean, ultra bulletproof, like presidential limousine, bulletproof. And, now that we have all these strong systems, we're at over 50 agents right now. We've done about 600 plus million in the last 5.5 years. And we're on this really, really good flow, but it's because we took the time, to really build all the proper systems like our open house system, our SOI system, that we do seller leads versus buyer leads, because we like the conversions better, on seller leads. So we went through all the different pillars of the business, bulletproofed it, built it, stress test it, and now technically I feel like it could handle 1,000 agents, if we really wanted it to, but yeah, it was chaos at first for sure.
So that had to be really humbling because you had all this success in the first part, which is ultimately the hardest part, which is recruiting.
Yeah.
And then you weren't ready for you weren't prepared for the amount of success that you would have. And sometimes, people do this all the time where agents will say, well, I want to do luxury. And I'm like, do you? Because if you've never sold a $10 million home or a $5 million home, it's not like selling a $300,000 home. Like you have to go find the buyer. Like you don't just get to list it on the MLS and wait for the buyers to come. I mean, maybe if you're lucky, but like it's a whole different game. And if you get that listing and you're like, don't have any strategy to actually get it sold, you're going to not want that listing. It's going to actually look bad. So I hear this. So let's talk about when you rebuilt. I want to hear, what was the first system that you're like, we have to build this now that we're down to 10, we have to rebuild. What's the first system that you built?
So crucial, absolute number one, and I think this is where nobody take this personally, but I think this is where a lot of teams drop the ball is onboarding. It's that first initial experience of an agent coming on the team and putting them in their path to win. Because the quicker they get into production and earning GCI, the better it is for the agent, the better it is for the team, and everybody's happier. And so a lot of team leaders that I talk to, their number one issue typically that they're dealing with is how can I quickly get a new agent that joins our environment into production? Because think about it. If you're the team and now you have this code where I can get an agent into production really, really fast, and get them to momentum. One, there is your agent attraction right there.
Yep.
Two, you're not stressing out as a team leader, and three, the agent's not stressing out and you're in this abundant high production environment, because we all know helping an agent that's in momentum is a lot easier than helping an agent out of momentum,
Yeah.
to do what they want to do. So we broke down what is an agent going to go through when they onboard into our environment. And that's where we designed Fam Camp. So it's this 2-week boot camp that we run. I love it. And it's 1 hour a day via Zoom in the morning, 7 to 8 a.m. So we're testing if a group of people can be on a Zoom at 7 a.m. for 2 weeks. Okay. Week 1, we focus all on tech and tools. So our CRM, Sisu, because we're big Sisu users, how to use the TC team, like all of the tech that they have in their tool belt, their flyers. We have a marketing team, how to have the marketing team do stuff for you. And then that first weekend, we have you shadow a mega open house, because we have someone like a Sharon, who's done 28 agreements just from open house, in the last 6 months. We're like,
and by the way, she's only really truly been in the business for 6 months.
yeah, like she's just on a wild
28 agreements in 6 months when she'd had her license. So Zach and I talked about this before we started the show. So just a little background on her. She had her license, but she wasn't really producing. She was doing other things. She was in medical sales. It was just kind of a onesie twosie thing. And she's like, I want to make this my full-time gig. Got on your team within 6 months, 28 agreements, four listings that, tell me your stats.
Literally just had a listing this last few weeks ago in La Jolla. 11 offers in the first weekend, like in escrow, call it a day, done. So what happens is she's in this massive momentum right now. I'd say anyone listening to this could call 28 agreements in 6 months momentum, and she's going. And so what better for someone in onboarding besides being next to her?
Yeah.
And so we put them out and shadowing a mega open house for that first weekend, because Sharon, she's getting her agreements in the house. Like people are signing in the house with her before they leave to be her agent. And so as a fam camper, you're sitting there watching that and going like, holy shoot, you're like, this is crazy. And so then they come back in for week 2. We go through sales processes, leads, signing a buyer, buyer benefits, because we offer all these benefits to buyers, etc. We go through the sales aspect of it. And last year we had an 88% success rate of agents getting a signed agreement within those 2 weeks. And so the goal is that you would exit camp with a signed agreement, because now you're like, cool. We're like, cool, bro. We're good. We're in momentum. They're like, yeah. We're like, great. So now this is what we do is we go do showings. This is how you use the TC team to write your offer. And now we're just walking them through how to win, which that's a way better conversation than, oh, DJ, you got to make more calls, man. Oh, DJ, it's just all about this. It's all about, they're already in momentum.
Right.
Our lives are easy on both sides, and the agents get paid quick. And if you're running an environment where an agent gets paid really quick, all the rest of the stress that was going around kind of just disappears, and away. So fam camp was the answer to 90% of the problems that we had, when we overgrew.
And it also is great for people who don't have huge spheres of influence, because you're like, no, we can show you another path in
100%.
addition to your sphere.
We give you sphere. We have an amazing SOI plan that my friend Virginia built with me. She's done 500 SOI deals. She's just a savage at it. So really easy SOI plan. So week 1, they're texting their SOI. Yeah. All they're doing is sending this magical text that we have, that they send out. Week 2, they're in leads. So like within 7 days, you're on leads, calling leads, trying to book an appointment, and going for it.
I love it. I always say too that people miss this opportunity. I want to get your thoughts, where the people closest to them, a lot of times, especially if they're new, they're like, I don't really want to hit up my friends. Number one, I'm like, you don't understand. Your friends probably already know a real estate agent, and maybe someone in their family is a real estate agent. So, but I say, don't even worry if they use you, although hopefully they do, but those are your advocates. Like those are the people you want to teach when they're at work to, if they hear the word moving, be like, oh, you got to talk to my friend, Zach. Like he's the best.
I call them your cheerleaders. They're your biggest cheerleaders. They're the ones that are going to send you referrals, comment on your page, send your post to people. So we don't reach out to them saying, hey, do you need to buy or sell a house? I would way rather get referrals from my SOI, that it's gonna be a better referral machine than relying on my uncle to buy a new house, necessarily. I think that's the mindset we get in. Like, no, my uncle doesn't need to buy a house. We're like, I know but someone in his world may, and everybody likes to have the person. Everybody likes to say, oh, I got this guy, I got this gal, and people like to refer to people. Like it makes them feel good. And so we send this text that I'll drop it. And essentially it's just, hey, it's been too long since we've talked. Tell me everything new, going on in your life right now. And what happens is every single person responds,
Yeah.
to that message. So we call it the A to Z challenge. You go from A to Z, down in your phone book.
Sure.
And then they are automatically going to ask what's new with you. It's just law of reciprocity. It's how it's going to go. So Brandy, she's in camp right now, literally a listing appointment, third day in camp, just from doing the freaking text,
That's
that goes
awesome.
out. So your SOI, they are your biggest cheerleaders. They are such untapped, potential. And if you talk to any high producing agent, almost all of them, are running a form of SOI/referral,
Right.
that comes to them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know to ask their sphere, hey, what's going on in your, hey, tell me about your living situation. Are you good? Are you thinking of moving? Or how's the job? And those are all great things. But one thing they forget is like, hey, I could use your help. Like the less time I spend marketing, the more time I can spend actually doing the job of being a great agent. Can you help me? If you overhear anybody at work or anybody in your sphere telling, please just tell them they got to meet me, and it's such a simple ask and nobody's going to say no to that.
No.
So,
Well, and get this, NAR did a study and they said over 70% of people are not in their ideal homes. And so why would that not be the question that you ask? Instead, we love as agents to ask people, do you want to sell? And let's be super real. 99% of people actually don't want to sell.
Right.
They may want to downsize and they may want that smaller house, but they don't actually want to sell. So I get a lot of kickback on this, but I say all the time, there are such things as bad questions. 100%. We were taught wrong. And do you want to sell is a bad question. And instead, what we do to all the SOI as we get talking with them and going and the agent gets comfortable, hey, are you in your ideal home? And most of the time people say no. And you're like, oh my God.
Okay, there's always something wrong with the home. Yes. Of course.
Why is this not ideal to you? He's like, man, we got 3 kids now. We'd love to have a pool. Who knows? What it is that they say, why? Well, we actually got the RV and I'm paying for storage and I'd like to have it on the lot. There's all types of stuff, that goes on. And we have this cool little calculator, and you can just use your lender for this, anyone that's listening, but take the what they owe on their current home, so what their equity is, and then show them that towards purchase power now. Like if they were to now put 400 grand in their pocket, like in our market, 600 grand in equity is very common. And you're like, cool, bro, if you put 600 grand and put that towards this next house, you actually have this buying power. And it's like the upgraded house, it's this, and it creates so many transactions. But so instead of do you want to sell or are you thinking of selling, are you in your ideal home? Because we know it's most likely what the answer is going to be. And it puts you in this higher level conversation about their living situation opposed to if they're wanting to sell, or not.
I've got a great stat. You reminded me of this when you were talking about the NAR stat. I've got a great one that you probably know this, but just in case our listeners don't, this is amazing. People talk about, I need to perfect my listing presentation. I'm like, no, you don't, because 78%, this is an NAR stat from like a year ago or 2 years ago, 78% of home sellers interview exactly one agent. I'm like, you don't have to have a great listing presentation. You don't even have to have a good listing presentation. You just have to have something, because they're only going to interview you almost, 3/4 of the time.
And if you ask a lot of those people, they said that they picked this agent because it was the first one that they met.
Yep.
So you just need to be really good. I tell agents this a lot. You just need to be really good at meeting appointments. If that was the only metric that you tracked, and this goes for team leaders too, screw every other metric that you're tracking for your team and just track met appointments, because you can guarantee that if people are out meeting people, real estate's going to happen, because just humans naturally are picking that first buyer's agent they interview, the first seller's agent. They're not, I'm not saying everybody. Some people interview the 12 and, then they battle to the death to the one and, they go all crazy with it. But most people, like you just said, are just picking one agent, that they meet somewhere. And so if you just get really good at, I can meet, let's just say 4 appointments a month, meet one new person every single week, you would be in such a flow, of momentum.
I had heard Brian Tracy, who is kind of an older self-help guy, but he had this great stat that was so simple. He said, if you want to double your income, double the number of prospects you have in your, or double your appointments. It's like, oh yeah, I don't even have to get better at the job. I just have to double the amount of stuff I do. If all I do is think about how do I get in front of more people, even if I never get better, which you should get better too. But yeah. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about building a team, because I've interviewed hundreds of agents, and so many agents think the team is the solution, and it can be, and your team is crushing it. So you're like, I think your team is maybe more the exception than the rule, which is great for you. But you're also, well, actually, I got a different question. I'm going to talk about cold calls, because people hate making cold calls. It's just inherent in us. It freaks us out. We think we're bothering people. Of course, we're not. I always say you're not bothering people if you're not bothering people. Like if you're not actually being annoying or selling something, there's no reason to be afraid. But you hold yourself, or you have held yourself to 100,000 calls a year. So how do you impose some version of that onto your team? Like, how do you get them to where they're doing those kind of calls?
Yeah. So candidly, and I have this tattoo that says the work works right here. And it was literally because of that, like our whole business was built off the work. It was built off me personally as the sales manager, as the sales leader, being in the bullpen with the agents saying, hey, look, I'm dialing. And so what happens is they dial. But what we love to do is say, hey, I'm going to go be in my office over here checking emails and, doing this thing, but you should all go cold call. And you should all go call these FSBOs and these expireds, but you need that like shiny light at the end of the tunnel. And so if it's not you that's going to do it, you have to at least have an agent, like one agent that you're going to do it. And so if you can just enroll one person to really get into it, what happens is you then bring them on one of the team trainings and say, hey, look, Ashley just booked 2 appointments yesterday from FSBO, and she's like a first year agent. They go, what FSBOs, what script? Where did you dial? What time of day did you dial? And then they start nitpicking this whole plan apart, and they're going to do what they see someone doing working. So if you can get just one agent to do it, you're good. And now you just need to build momentum around that one agent. But if you don't have an agent that's going to do it, it sucks to suck. You got to be that person that literally just goes stands in the bullpen. And I did like 400.
I want to talk a little bit about choosing between being a team lead, a manager, a producer. You kind of are doing it all. So talk about how you figure out how to spend your time.
Yeah, I'd say shout out to Brian Charlesworth on this one. He's the owner of Sisu. I had to sit down with him and he ripped my calendar to shreds. It was like we think a lot that we're out helping, that we're helping the business and we're doing everything we can. But he looked at my calendar and said, if you look about 80% of your time, it's not going where it's most valuable, which means it's not the most valuable for the business. And so he's like, what do you actually enjoy doing? Like, what are you like actually passionate about doing? And for me, it's agent attraction on a high level. It's the GCI, like watching an agent go from, doubling their GCI over 12 months, stuff like that. Like I have fun in the trenches, answering the calls, doing the Zooms and all this. But, someone like Frances, like my business partner, for her, like we're going to do 40 flips, this year with her and the agent partners, like her time's more valuable doing that. And that's what she's super passionate about, and that's why. So my number one thing always when I get asked this, because I work with a lot of teams, is what part of the business do you actually enjoy doing? That's where you're going to perform the best, most likely. And so like, go do that. So some people love numbers and they love to handle back end and the finance and, making sure the team is profitable. And some people love sales coaching, and then some people don't want to even be near agents, and they're like, I just want to, kind of be leader at the helm, be the visionary or whatnot. So find the part that you're really passionate about and do that. So for me, it's GCI coming in, which means how many agents do we need? How many leads do we need? What conversions do we need to focus on, to make that happen? And that's where I'm genuinely happy doing every day, so that's where my time now goes.
That makes sense. I like that. So spend your time doing the thing that you would do more than anything if you could. And then maybe delegating the rest or hiring out the rest. How do you figure out where to do that? Yeah.
Partner, delegate, VAs and AI are an amazing thing, these days. You guys, my AI, like my Claude is my assistant, like it does so much for me throughout the day. So there's a lot, it can be scary to delegate out. And sometimes we look at this, oh my gosh, what if I bring on this $50,000 a year salary? Like what is that to my overhead? Just look at it at 90 days instead of looking at the whole year. Cause you're not paying 50 grand right now up front, for this person's salary. So do like a 90-day sprint. The way we did it, we bring someone in, we work with them for 90 days, and really test this relationship and see if it's benefiting me, if it's benefiting them, and if it's working. And then if it is, we keep it, and now you have you hear a lot of these people say that first hire was the best hire I've ever made, and they tell this like big story about it. It's because it's usually the scariest one. You're jumping over that initial hurdle of delegation. So like even maybe you run a team right now and you don't like being a team leader. You could literally outsource a team leader, and you could work on the part of the business that you're super passionate in, and give them a percentage of the GCI, that comes in or something like that. But yeah, so like there's so many different ways to delegate out if it's not what you love to do. Cause I'd say the biggest brag that I have about FAM is it's not the production, it's not the number of agents, et cetera. It's that we're genuinely happy with the business that we're running. And so a lot of team leaders and a lot of agents ask us like, why are you guys happy all the time? It's because we're legitimately happy with the business that we built, around us as a team, which I'm sad to say is not usually the case, for a lot of team leaders. And so it's because we've chosen to do what makes us really happy, and it always trickles down from the top. And so if you're not happy with what you're doing and you're like struggling to get to the office and hating the drive there and like it's all this negative, that 100% trickles down to the rest of the team now. And you wonder why you have an environment that isn't really what you want it to be. And it's because it always comes down from the top. So we got really happy. That came down from the top. All of our agents are super happy. And, we get to be happy now with this environment that we run. But yeah, we have 6 full-time VAs essentially, that are taking everything from marketing to back end tasks to whatever, and just like you hear everybody else say, it was the best hire, we ever made, best decision we ever made.
And we should mention too that Southern California is it's not like this unbelievable market right now for realtors. Like it's tough. North County's, I think it's still a seller's market there. Inventory's tight. It's not that you guys are still facing the same hurdles everybody else in the country is facing.
Yep. We're in a weird transition right now. We're kind of right in the middle. We call it a transitional, period for us where it's like some listings are sitting on market, and price reduction. And some of them are getting 11 offers in a weekend, and really hitting and slamming. So right now for us, it's a pricing game, for sure. So an agent really does have to go in super confident, to talk price with a homeowner.
I'm publishing a short form reel today. By the way, if anyone isn't following me, you can find me at delphin.paris. That's DELFIN because you probably would spell it with a PH. Anyway, I'm doing a video today about why you have to price it right in the first week, because there's all this stats that say even if you price it 3 to 5% higher than you should, it's going to sit for weeks and weeks, and then you're going to have to price cut. And when you price cut, everybody, the sharks circle. So I'm curious to know, what is your pricing strategy when you have a listing?
Yeah, so I made this cool thing with Claude, actually. Shout out Claude, where it gives when we take it to a seller's house, we have a green light, yellow light, red light, essentially. And so green light being around 10% below market value, it kind of depends on the area, of course, but if we just take a rough average, it's probably around 10% below, what we think it would actually sell for on market. Yellow being right in line with the competition, so if all the comps or, listed competitions at $8.99 and you list at $8.99, we're going to have a slow, longer sale, and we're probably gonna have to price drop. And then red being over, what the competition is at. So we sit there and we show them, we say, hey, green meaning good, this is where we should be, is about 10% below. And then right below that, we have a page that shows a list of about 87 properties that we've done it for. And we show the list price and the sales price. And it's always, our average days on market right now for our team is 11 days. So it's like, you're going to sell quick, and our average home right now, like we had 4 homes just going escrow. All of them had 10 plus offers in the first weekend, so it may feel scary, but
Well, okay, a couple things. First, because I had to research this for my video, the average home in the country sits for 66 days now. Yours sit for 11. You're pricing it under, which, by the way, you have to sell that to the homeowner who always wants to overvalue their property, always wants it to be at a high number because, of course, there's just good feelings associated with that. It doesn't feel good to price it lower. So how do you address that when you're talking? Again, obviously you have the data, I get it, but how do you cross over that like emotional, like it just doesn't feel good to list it
That
lower?
is the big part of it is the data. And if you don't have data, like just go to the MLS, and pull homes, that sold for over. You don't need personal data, for it. We just have our own now at this point that we can use it, but you just show it. Hey, look, this comp, I guarantee you, if you find the highest selling comps, it was because they sold quickly and they had that energy and that momentum behind the sale. So AK, they probably listed at a pretty aggressive price, and so like for example, the condo we just did in La Jolla, the homeowner really wanted to list that at, I think it was like 850, or something like that. We're like, no, like we need to be at 799, like 799 will be it. I promise. We got 11 offers the first weekend, and come Monday, they accepted an offer for like, I think it was 88 grand, over asking price. So you just show them we're actually going to end up at or above where you want to be. We're not going to, you don't have to accept an offer at this lower price. But if we go lower and 15, like Sherry, she just did one in Cerritos, she had 60 people through her open house, in one weekend. Like there's no better marketing tool besides price. And so that's that key word that I think you have to talk about with the sellers. Hey, our pricing is a marketing tool. It's not what you're deciding you're going to get. The price we throw out to the world is just marketing. You're telling me what you want over on this piece of paper, over here. Like, I know you want 850. That's why I'm saying we need to list at 800,
Right.
with this marketing tool. So you just use that language. It's a marketing tool. It's not what you're going to walk away with.
Yeah, you're so right. Because when I bought my condo, the place I live in now, it started at a certain number, and then they dropped it 50,000 within like a month. It sat for like a month, and I was like, "What's wrong with this? Is there something wrong with this place?" Turns out there wasn't. But as soon as I saw that drop, I'm like, "Oh, I can get them for more," because they obviously this wasn't priced right, and you're right. The psychology of that, buyers see that and they're like, "We can get them down." So, oh, that's so smart.
And it's easy. And you just show them the data. Like I said, if you don't have personal data, just go pull it. Ask Claude. Find me 10 homes, here that listed for lower than what they sold for, and literally just go show them.
You said something at the beginning I want to just circle back to, because you were saying like when doing open houses, you have to know more about the property than anyone even in the neighborhood might know. And the cool part is we now have AI that can kind of do that for us. So you could literally type into AI, tell me everything you know about this property, the surrounding areas. What would an interested buyer want to know? Give me fun facts, and it'll just give you all this information. And that now you seem way smarter. I'm sure your agents probably do all that.
The biggest thing I learned with AI is to give it an outcome instead of a how-to. I think we love to give AI how-tos, like, hey, go do this and do this. I just give it an outcome. So give it the outcome saying, hey, I have an open house this weekend. Outcome, I want to know this neighborhood better than the neighbors do. And, it will just, and it will do that. It will make you, know it better than the neighbors do. So yeah, give your AI an outcome. Even like, we've had Claude analyze a property to say, who's the avatar buyer? And we brought it with us to a listing appointment. It was literally, hey, this is who we think the avatar buyer is, for this house. Tell me what other agent's showing up with an avatar buyer already lined out.
Nobody.
No one's talking about that. So
that's really brilliant. It's funny. So I teach AI to agents, and okay, we're in June. So last November, it was all about prompt engineering and like, how do you write the perfect prompt? And that's kind of gone now. You don't actually need to write. You used to have to say, give it a role, say, hey, you're going to act as an advertising executive or a top agent. Now you're right. You just have to give it the outcome. It pretty much figures out all the other stuff. And I mean, AI is just always changing.
100%.
So much. I want to talk about, because inventory is tight pretty much everywhere. One thing we haven't talked about is how to get buyer offers noticed. So you're in a situation where when you guys have listings, you're getting, dozen offers, not, weekend one. How do you train your agents on, hey, you're probably in a multiple offer situation when you're working with buyers. Here's how to get your stuff noticed.
Yeah. So I'll be super candid with you. We write aggressive offers. So we tracked it last year. We haven't tracked it for this year. We had almost a 90% offer acceptance rate last year. Like it was like we write really, really strong offers. And a lot of this actually starts in your buyer discovery, where we're setting that expectation with the buyer then instead of when it comes time to write the offer. So we tell them, and it's one of the ways we sign a lot of clients in open houses, that we have a 7-step offer writing process, because people always like a process or a system. And so we tell them, hey, during this buyer discovery, we're going to walk you through that. And so essentially we walk them through one, like offer what you want to offer. Don't play games. Don't, if you're willing to pay 800 for it, don't offer 750. Like
Right.
offer 800. Like we're going to enter escrow where, we may come across some stuff. We can negotiate more in escrow, but like, let's get it. Let's write a strong offer and get it in escrow. But then the big part, and we get a lot of offers accepted below other offers, is for a few reasons. One, we're writing 10-day closes for a normal end use buyer. And so that is the number one thing by far that will come in 20 grand below.
We may have lost Zach for a second. He's gonna come back. So bear with us just a second. Oh, you're back.
There we go. We'll win an offer 20 grand below, like what the other one's at, because with us, you're getting your money in 10 days. So you just talk with your lender. We talked with our lender and said, what do we need to do to try to approve every client for a 10-day close? And so all of our clients are going in saying, I'm willing to close in 10 days because I'm getting a discount, from the seller in return, in a way. And so then you have to go to your partners, though, like your inspector and everything, and say, hey, are you guys ready, for this 10-day close? And essentially we have prepped our environment, our partners, to be ready to run a 10-day close, over and over. So, because obviously on a 10-day close, you're shortening your contingency periods, etc. So that's really what the 7 steps comes down to, is mainly wiping out contingencies, lowering as many of them as we can, as tight as a window as possible. But the number one thing by far is the 10-day close. And then we have this really nice offer letter, that we send, that when we send it to the agent, we give them a really nice overview of the offer right there in the top of the email. Just so they're, that's just, you should just be doing that hopefully already, is sending a summary with it.
Don't make people click to open the PDF.
Oh my gosh. I'll just tell you, that's the worst way to submit your offer, is just sending it in as an offer. But yeah, the 10-day close, though, we get calls all the time. They're like, hey, is this like, you guys want 10 days? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, okay. And they get really excited about it, because you have an end use buyer. You're not even, we get cash offers accepted all the time. We'll do 40 flips this year. All of our flips come from on market, so we have to get lowball offers accepted all the time, for us. But for like an end use buyer, you have an actual budget, like a close to asking price budget for this, and we can get you a 10-day close, like your offer is getting accepted 100% of the time. So that would be my opinion, is like literally talk with your lender and say, hey, what do I need to do to get people approved for X amount of days? In our market, 10 days is really fast, to close on something. So we were like, if we could get 10 days, every now and then a buyer gets approved for 15 days. Guess what? That's still a great offer, closing in 15 days. So just get that window as short as humanly possible. And just like a listing, our best bet is usually price. Hey, how low can we list it, to get the most competition? I'm a strong believer that on the buy side, it's the same thing. How can I shorten that window to create certainty for the seller and for the listing agent that you're going to close? Because there may be an offer 20 grand higher, but if your offer is 100% certain that it's going to close and they feel way more confident, they'll move forward with your offer, versus the highest price typically.
How often do you see well, you probably don't see other offers. How often do you get the feedback like, oh, other people are doing 10-day closes too?
Like never. Yeah. They usually have an investor offer at a 10-day
maybe
close,
a cash offer, right? Yeah.
It's potentially lower, than ours. It's actually probably about 70 to 80%, of what ours is realistically, so Yeah, the fact that you have an end use buyer doing the 10-day close, it's quite literally the best of both worlds that you're giving a seller,
Okay.
right now. And like I
I
said, you
want
typically get
I want to give one more, and this is really basics 101, but sometimes people don't think about these things. Let's go back to sending the offer to the list agent. When you send it, as you said, put all the highlights right there, right up front, drop it in. So within 5 seconds, they can see everything or the most important stuff. And then you'll drop in the PDF or whatever. And what are you doing to make sure that, is it just sending it? Are you calling the agent? Are you texting them? Like what is your team doing?
Yeah, so we send it, and then the agent calls them and lets them know. If they don't answer the phone, they'll text them, and then we actually have the lender also reach out and call, because we're writing a 10-day
Right. You have to.
close.
Yeah.
He has to be able. So he essentially calls and says, "Hey, I promise you, like, I'm good for this 10-day close.
That's
This is a good
amazing.
buyer." Builds it up. So that lender call can build a lot of
Yeah.
confidence, in the listing agent, because listing agent's like, cool, the lender said they're good in 10 days, the buyer said they're good in 10 days, and the agent said they're good to handle inspections and stuff, and all that within the 10 days. They're like, seems like a pretty good offer,
Yeah.
if you ask me. And once again, we're just trying to build certainty.
What,
That's the number one thing a seller wants. So yeah, the lender call is
when you
huge.
guys have listings, how often do other buyer agents have their lender call you?
It happens for sure, but it's rare. It's definitely, like, if we talk out of offers, it's for sure 1 out of 30, 1 out of 50, or something like that. Like, it's super, super low. We'll get emails a good amount from the lender just being like, "Hey, my name's Jeff." And it's like, to be honest, I just don't think the email
No,
hits
you
the
got to have a
same,
call. Yeah. Yeah.
like, you got to just call. And if they don't answer, our lender will send a video, a quick phone video, and just be like, "Hey, my name's Julio. I'm calling to talk to you about our offer for you on blank." And he just, you want them to like you. Like you do. You want them to like you, be certain in you, and the listing agent will do the job for you of selling the offer, because that is genuinely the one that they feel the most confident,
Right.
in
And also the
forwards
one
with.
they get paid the fastest on too. Let's be honest. I mean, that's a motivator.
Together. We're on the same
Yeah.
boat together. You want it to close. I want it to close. Seller wants it to close. Buyer wants it to close. Lender wants it to close. Like, everybody wants it to close. And so the fact that we're giving you a 10-day close shows you how badly we want the
So
close.
the first step is getting the buyer to that window, because you probably have to say to the buyer, listen, we have to get you to a 10-day window before we make an offer, because that's our trump card. And we got to do this. Our lender is going to get you there, but you got to get there with them. And then, like, do you have to have those conversations sometimes with buyers?
Really simple conversation, but yes, all the time. Because no buyer, obviously, it sounds super stressful, especially to like a first-time buyer. Is like, what? We're going to close in 10 days. And you guys, sometimes the listing, they want more days. So sometimes you write they counter you at a longer offer, and it's great, but it shows how much you want the house, is what it shows. And so the way that we talk about it with them is during buyer discovery, say, "Hey, would you be willing to close quicker if it meant you getting a discount?"
Right.
And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Cool. So if we were going to go up versus another buyer, stories sell 100% of the time. So I say, if we were going to go up against another buyer and they were to offer 850, and you offered 840, we're able to get your offer accepted, but we had to move really fast. Would you be willing to move fast for a $10,000 discount?"
Sure. Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Cool, because we're good. Like, our inspector's prepped. Everything's prepped to roll in this motion. I just need you to trust and feel good that we got you, and that, don't worry about it. Like, you're still going to get inspections done. Like, we're still going to have everything you normally would have. We're just doing it in a very tight window. So when I call you to go over inspections, we need to go over the inspections, like ASAP. This is not let's wait 3 days, and get back to you type of thing. So we just prep them, for what they're going to go through. And we tell them that, hey, if you could do this and beat out another client or get a discount just for moving quicker, is that something you'd be willing to do? And the answer is almost always yes. 100%
So
of the
a
time.
question about working with the lender. So you have to find a lender that's willing to make that late night phone call or whenever you're submitting the offer.
Yep.
And what happens if the buyer has a different lender and they're not kind of on board with that? They're like, yeah, I'll get to it. Like, do you guys just keep?
Yeah. I mean, I coach every agent. You should try to get your lender in because it's just it can be such a deal breaker,
Right.
on a transaction is having a bad lender or someone who's just not used to your market.
Right.
Like we had an agent or a buyer that wanted to use their lender and he was a great lender, but he's a lender in
Yeah.
Chicago. And so he just wasn't like, he was hearing us trying to do a 10-day close and he was like, are you crazy? And he was like, not having it. He was just like, I'm not ready to do that. And so, it's once again just to sit down with the client and we're their leader. Like we're supposed to lead them, to the answers. They're going to ultimately make the decisions, but so we just, hey, you have your lender, you have this approval. What would be the harm? And just looking at this lender, and if we could get you this 10-day close and get you a discount here, or
Right.
whatever it is, like you open just looking at it. And you're right. Sometimes it's a no, and you just got to play ball. And we have some deals that aren't 10-day closes, and we're writing a 21-day close, and finding different ways to compete. But for us, we just tell the buyers, hey, we have an over 90% offer acceptance rate. Like it's proven to be successful. We have 7 steps that are going to get you your winning offer. Let's just follow the 7 winning steps.
Yeah.
And if you can line something out to be like a system or a process, people are much more likely to follow it than just, hey, we're going to write 10-day close because I'm going to get you a discount. We're like, no, look, these are the 7 steps we're going to take. This is what it's going to do for you. And this is what it's done for other clients. And you're good. You'll normally get a good response from it.
Awesome. Well, hey, I love that. And by the way, if your lender isn't the person that can do that, find a lender that can and make that the backup off or make that the backup lender. It's lenders always want to, do pre-approval. So I love that.
100%.
I love that.
Yeah. Not all lenders can, and not hate on any lenders, or anything like that. But like that is for you too. Lenders love to offer value, offer quick closings. Like if you're a lender listening, be like, what can I do to offer agents the quickest close, possible? Because it benefits everybody, everybody more. But yeah, if you're an agent, you just got to just look around, post on your Instagram. There's so many lenders, out there that are doing really cool stuff that you can find some really cool programs through, like a 10-day close, and stuff like that.
I want to wrap up with what I hear in now our 2 conversations about your thought process, because this is what I'm hearing, how you think about problems and solutions. And I think it's going to sound subtle, but it is so profound. Instead of saying, how do I get my next client? You would start with the end with like, how do I double the number of appointments I have this month or next month? Okay, well, if I have to double the number of appointments I have, I probably got to double the number of prospects I have. Okay, how would I do that? How many people would I need to meet this month? How many phone calls or how many events would I need to go to get enough, phone cards to be able to, blah, blah, blah. You start with the end, like, how do I give offers that will get seen when there's 12 other offers on the table? What do I actually need to do? Well, hey, if I could move the close date up, that's pretty appealing, and most people can't do that. I'll be that guy. Like, you just look for the solution for the problem, and you don't start from the problem. You start from like the end goal of like, what's the best way to do this? You did this with open houses. It's really impressive. And I encourage everybody to think that way. Like, don't think about what's coming at you right now and what your challenges are right now. Think about what you want and what you need to do to get there. And then the answers are out there. Like, it's not that complicated. And I mean, look, there's a million YouTube videos. I'm sure somebody has had a version of the mega open house before Zach even came up with it. Not to take anything away from Zach, because Zach is
No, 100%.
but again, yeah, like nothing's new. Like everything is somebody's got a system for everything. And I imagine, you probably find other people's systems and like, that's really smart. I'm going to adopt that.
Yeah, 100%. We use stuff that comes from other people all the time. Like that's what you should be doing, is finding someone who's doing what I have this saying that I say a lot to people. I'm like, if you want to do cool shit, be around cool people doing cool shit. Like, it's really not rocket science. And so we're constantly looking for people doing cool stuff. What are you doing? What's equaling this? So now we have, our TC team writes all the offers and all the RLAs now because of something we learned from another team, and how that sped up the process, so much. So, 100%. I'm just a believer that, like, if you feel so confident in your end product, you'll sell it. But what happens is agents actually don't feel super confident in their end product.
Right.
Like writing the offer, like the buyer discovery, like negotiating an escrow, all those things. And so what happens is they don't go and sell it, that well, because they're not super confident in it.
I'll leave with this end story because it's about working out. So I have a friend who's an ex Golden Glove boxer winner, a Golden Glove winning boxer, and he is ex MMA guy as well, success in both, and now is a really successful realtor. He's a good friend of mine, and he's at like now he does Ultraman triathlons, whatever those are, or Ironman triathlons. He's a competitor. He works out his body like crazy. His body is really, really important to these other projects he does. So anyway, I was complaining to him once. I'm like, hey, Lawrence, I've been working out with a trainer for a few years and I really don't like leg day. And I was like, what could I, he looked at me and he's like, dude, nobody likes leg day. He goes, you think I want to work out my legs on a Tuesday? And I go, yeah, I just assumed you did, because he's like, no, it sucks. He's like, but you just have to do it. And so going back to the work works, like, then I realized, I don't have to love it. I just have to do it. And if you can brute force your way through it, and again, try to make it fun and try to make it enjoyable. But even if you don't like it, like, that's kind of the point, right? Like, nobody wants to pick up the phone and make cold calls because I'd rather scroll on Instagram. Who wouldn't? But scrolling on Instagram isn't really going to get me business. Making those cold calls will, and I'm just going to have to brute force my way through it with some good technique and whatever. But that's what I love about your thing is, like, just do the work. Do the work and you will get the result, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, like, it's going to happen. And I know it may seem tough now. You're like, oh, I don't want to go spend, hours prepping for my open house or, dialing those FSBOs or whatever. But like, it gets you, what people don't realize is it gets you out of it quicker.
Yes.
Like, the sooner you start it now, the sooner you don't have to do it. You think my business partner, Frances, makes freaking cold calls to expireds and FSBOs? Absolutely not. She gets homeowners that call her to sell their house, because she's sold over 200 homes, so it's like, once you've built your business, you don't have to do it anymore. A lot of that stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't, and continue to grow, but like, we want to not do it. And then all it does is make us have to do it longer. So we just learned very early on, like, the work works. If we do a lot of it now, we don't have to do as much later. So I made 600,000 cold calls, and guess what? Now we're running, a team that we're happy with. And, they're out doing the cold calls and the open houses and, all of that now. But it all started with that catalyst of, we're doing the work that works. And I was literally in the bullpen with our agents making calls to show them that the work works. So, if you just lock in on the few levers that, yes, they're hard work, but they actually pull the biggest lever in your business, you can absolutely obliterate. And I mean this in a good way, not a bad way. You can change your entire business in like 90 days. Like, think about it, we've almost doubled our team size this year. Like 90 days, a lot happens, in that period of time. So like, do a 90-day sprint on just doing all the hard shit, that you constantly don't want to do. And you're guaranteed to be in a different place, than you were 90 days
I didn't
prior.
want to go to the gym this morning at 8 a.m. and get pounded on by my trainer. Like, that's not what I wanted to sleep. But I knew that if I want to have a good ride through the rest of my life, like, I'm going to have illness, I'm going to have things in my body break down, because that's just life. And if I don't want those things to completely take me down before they should, like, I better get to that gym. It doesn't mean I have to kill myself, but I have to work out pretty hard. I have to put myself in the pathway of a little bit of discomfort, actually a lot of discomfort, but it's worth it, because number one, there's a pride aspect of it. I just did something hard, and like, there's nothing that feels better than that. And you're going to get better at it as you keep doing it. And maybe it won't seem so miserable as you keep going, because especially with cold calls, you're like, oh, this isn't so hard. Like, or rather, it's not so defeating. Like, once in a while, maybe someone gets mad at you, but who cares? Like, it's no big deal. Like, you survive. It's okay. And sometimes somebody says yes, and you're like, oh my God, I just did that. And so you're right. It's just do the things that work, do the things that are hard. If it's not hard, you probably shouldn't be doing it, I guess, is really the point.
100%. And I heard someone say something today. I thought it was hilarious. He's talking to someone cold calling, and the person was scared of getting like negative feedback. And he's like, bro, you're safe.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's going to happen to you. Like, you're safe. Like literally nothing could happen to you right now besides win. Like, that is all that could happen, because guess what? Like, you're safe.
Yeah.
Like, you not wanting to post on Instagram, you're safe to hit post. Like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to hurt you, or like attack you or anything. So, we act like we're entering, entering battle, by clicking post or, making a cold call, or something like that. We're like armoring up and, doing all this stuff. Like, you're safe. You're good.
And even if you do make a mistake and you piss somebody off, you just go, oh, I'm sorry. Like, no big deal. It's just moving on.
On to the next. Yep. On to the next. You just move on. And, like I promise you just get in this crazy momentum. And that's why I give Sherry on our team a huge shout out. She's signed 13 listing agreements in the last 30 days.
Wow.
And all of it just came from, we sat down and looked at her business and she was like, what's missing? I'm like, conversations. That's it. Literally everything else is good. And she had a ton of conversations, in 1 month. She signed a batch of listing agreements from different people. And then one of her church, someone she knows at church said, hey, I really see you in momentum. I love what you're doing. I love your energy. She goes, I want to give you 8 homes to sell, great homes. So what you get in this momentum, and people like to be around people, that are in momentum and that are flowing. It's like the sooner you get calling, knocking, opening, whatever it is, that you're doing for the legs of your business, like just do it and do it on a high level that makes you feel good. Don't do the bare minimum. Because you're going to get bare minimum clients, which sucks. No one wants.
And people look at Sherry and probably go, how did she get so lucky? It's like, oh, she didn't get lucky. There's no luck. She just put herself in the way of opportunity by doing the things that impress all other people. Like, that's all it is.
Forced it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People want to be around people that are in momentum, that are high energy. And, you got to do that for yourself. No one else is going to do it for you. Well, so, but do the things to put yourself there.
Continually impress me. You can impress our audience. I'm such a big fan of Zach Geisendorfer. Also, by the way, if you're an agent and you're looking for some coaching, looking for some help, Zach might be able to help you. Maybe he can't, but he will tell you. He will give you some good advice of where to go, but he wants to chat with you. So reach out to him. You can find him on Instagram, Zach Zen Real Estate, ZACH. Oh, by the way, if you have people moving into Southern California, Zach would love to talk to you too, because hey, referral partners are great too. And he has people that move out of Southern California. California, a lot of people leave California. So especially when they go to Texas, right? If you're in Texas, you should be calling Zach, being like, hey, if anyone's moving out, you got to talk to me, and well, vice versa. So he wants those relationships, but also if you just want guidance and help, this is a good dude. He has come on our show 2 times. Think about how much time he has. I know he doesn't have any time. He's just too nice to say it, but he doesn't have this time, and he gives it to us for free. And so do him a favor, follow him on Instagram, Zach Zen Real Estate. I even like Zach so much. I was like, Zach, you got to come on our show every month. And he goes, and Zach says, I don't have time for that, man. I can't do that. And that's how much I love this guy, but you got to take care of him, follow him, do what he's doing. He's just a good person. He figures out things and he's willing to share it with you. And he doesn't look at anybody as competition. He's just a really nice guy. So Zach Zen Real Estate, and again, follow him there, and also reach out to him if you're an agent in another area. Maybe you could partner up. Maybe you guys send each other referrals or just learn from each other. So do that. On behalf of our audience, Zach and I say thank you. On behalf of the audience, Zach, once again, another killer episode. We're so grateful that you come on our show. We appreciate you. And as always, best way that everybody can help us grow as a podcast, tell a friend. Think of one other agent that you know that needs to hear this episode. Shoot them a link for us. We appreciate that. Also, leave us a review, whatever you're listening to us on. Let us know what you think of the show. It helps us grow and support our sponsors. And we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Zach.
Appreciate you, dude. Had a blast.